They're all smiles right now, just wait. There we go.
Call this meeting to order. Good afternoon, everyone who's here in person and those watching on Zoom. I call this meeting to order, and it is 2:02. I'm a little late, I'm sorry. With the exception of Mr. Hinman, all members of the council are present. Town Manager Cliff Gravier is here, Assistant Town Manager Terry Tiemann, Town Clerk Molly Daisy, and Will Wharton, our IT person. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I have one.
Second.
Okay, and we won't have a report, we're not going to have a report from the Budget and Finance Committee today because that meeting was canceled, so that's the only item that'll be deleted. Okay, with that, do I have, I'll vote, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? The ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held on June 16th, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The next item is approval of the minutes of the workshop and special meeting held on June 22nd, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Changes? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Approval of the financial report. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mayor. This financial report covers through June 30th of this year. We are 25% through fiscal year 2024. All forms of revenue appear to be on schedule. Hopefully, this bad weather will not slow down parking fees too much. To date, we have collected 45.5% of the budget compared to 49.2% this time last year. On the expense side, we've expended just about what we expected. We expended 24.1% of our budget compared to 25% this time last year. Recognizing this report is subject to audit, I respectfully move that the council accept and approve this unaudited report.
Second.
Any discussion? Anybody who's here have any questions? Okay. Then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. The next item is announcement, recognition of visitors, and public comment. I have, well, one announcement, too. I just wanted to commend the 4th of July Parade Committee, and Bruce Fry is here today. Together with all the members of his committee who have devoted countless hours to putting on a wonderful performance, and it was just, it was great this year, too, and we even have the, what do you call it?
Grand Marshal.
The Grand Marshal is sitting in the back of the room, Captain Joe Donnelly. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who worked so hard, everybody on the committee who did the work, and we even have two people on council here who participated in the committee. But I'll mention the committee members, the official committee members, just so everybody is aware of them. Chris and Ray Amuller, Scott Bell, Ron Califf, Jen Carter, John Cellini, Maureen Kilmer, Mark Levin, Doug Mowry, Jerry Morris, Marcia Redenauer, Patrick Shepley, and of course, our own Julie Maluski. So thank you, and I know Bruce will be thanking other people and other organizations that have helped us as well. There was a full-page ad in this week's Coastal Point, in case you didn't see it, thanking everyone who, in the community, who has helped put on the parade and given everyone such a wonderful 4th of July, so thank you. I'd like to also mention that there is a sign-up sheet in the back of the room. If anyone wishes to comment at this meeting on an item on the agenda, to please put your name there. And also, if anyone has any item they wanted to comment on that is not on the agenda, please do so now. Okay. Does anyone on council have anything to say? All right. We will proceed. The next item on the agenda is a report from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Edmondson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Commission met on Saturday, June 17th. We had one item of business, which was to review the partitioning of the property known as 312 Garfield Parkway Extension, just across the street here. That partitioning was approved. We had no old business, and there is no meeting scheduled for tomorrow. So we will allegedly meet again in August. We'll see.
Thank you, Mr. Edmondson. Anyone have any questions, comments? Anyone who is here today have any questions or comments? Okay, fine, thank you. The next item on the agenda is a report from the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee. Mr. Hinman isn't here, but yes, Teresa Keel is going to present the report. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. So our last meeting was last Thursday. Our big public-facing event was the parade. So thank you to the parade committee. We were all newbies, and thank you to Diane, because she helped us too. We had never done this before. So it was very exciting to get out and see everyone and hand out pamphlets. We thought it was a huge success. At our last meeting, we put together, with the help of some community members, a list of how do I say this? A list of things we want to do in the future. So we have about 20 items we'll consider, and that's it. That's our report.
Well, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Mrs. Trodden, do you want to come up? Do you have a microphone that you can give to? I can speak loud. No, because for the people at home. Thank you. Oh, just state your name and your address, please.
Okay, Regina Trodden, 308 Wellington Parkway. I'm wondering, in line of the bicycle safety, if the police officers, including the summer ones, could mention to people who are not walking facing traffic, if you could just politely, gently suggest they walk across to the other side of the street so that they would be more safe. It wouldn't be offensive. It would be in the idea of bicycle and pedestrian safety.
Yes. You know, I agree wholeheartedly with you, and at some of the pedestrian and bicycle safety meetings, I have talked about that because I walk down Pennsylvania Avenue heading towards Sea Colony, and I can't tell you, 90% of the people are walking towards me, and I joked about it, and I said I would like to have a T-shirt that says you are walking on the wrong side of the street. And one of the members of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee gave me a T-shirt like that at the last meeting, and I actually wore it down the street. And I did get some kind of nasty looks, and I thought perhaps one of the maybe it was a negative message, and perhaps it should have said, please walk facing traffic, to give more of a positive message. But they are very keenly aware of it, and they talked about that, as a matter of fact, at the meeting in one of their brainstorming sessions. So thank you. I'm glad to hear you say that.
My thought was perhaps the police officers. I mean, I've said things to people, and they just give you a very dirty look. I mean, I'll say it's much safer facing traffic. But if the police officers, in their official duty, gently said, you know, please walk on the other side of the street.
Thank you.
I'm setting to the police instead of pedestrians. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Ann McKinney, 414 Gibson. You know, in listening to that, first thing that came to mind was 47 News. You know, the news, why couldn't we have that on the news? Because sometimes they do tell you things that are just, I mean, I grew up hearing that as a kid, that's aging me, that you always walk the opposite way. And maybe kids in school or whatever not taught that now. Just a suggestion, maybe the news station, if we contact them.
That's an idea for the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee. Thank you, Ann. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you all. And thank you, Teresa. The next item on the agenda is report from the 4th of July Parade Committee. Mr. Fry.
Put on my official uniform. Since you've stole my thunder, I'm gonna, no. Mayor, the 2023 edition of our July 4th parade went very well. Julie Maluski took care of the bands and VIPs, and I took credit for the weather. We've heard several compliments and no criticism. Ray and Chris Allmiller's team sold 590 T-shirts, generating a profit of $3,286, which helped subsidize the costs of the band, the church grounds, and other expenses. The committee would like to thank all the many volunteers who made the day a success, plus the town's police, facilities, and parking departments, and support from CVS and Banks Liquors for ice, not liquor, and the Penguin Diner. And our guest of honor, Joe Donnelly, head of the lifeguards. Our next meeting will be next Wednesday, and we'll be doing a review of the parade, what went well, and what we can improve on next year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fry. Does anyone have anything to add? Question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Bruce. This guy does a fantastic job leading that team, and planning everything.
Can we call on you for weather? Thank you. Anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Fry? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fry. The next report is from the Audit Committee. Mr. Peterson isn't here, but I believe Mr. Shepley has the report.
Thank you, Mayor. The Audit Committee met with our external auditors this morning to discuss the draft audit report. The auditors were pleased with their interactions and cooperation with the management team. They had no significant findings, which is a good thing. There were 2 changes to the government accounting standards. One dealt with long-term leases, which we in Bethany Beach fortunately do not have, so it's a non-issue for us. The second deals with subscription-based information technology agreements, and we will need to review all of our software agreements and figure out how this impacts us for next year. The bottom line is a quote from the auditor's report. Quote, "Overall, the town is in good financial condition and has the policies and focus to stay in sound fiscal shape." And if I could just add one thing, I was at the meeting. The auditors that we use do a number of municipalities up and down the Delaware, Maryland coast, and inland as well. They do Millville. And they enjoy coming to Bethany Beach because of the kind of shape we're in and the kind of records that we keep and answers that we provide to them. And I think that's another indication of some of the great employees that we have in this town, led by Janet Connery. So I would like to thank them for their hard work.
Thank you. Thank you to Janet and also to Mr. Gravier. Okay, anybody have any comments? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a report from the town manager, Mr. Gravier.
Mayor, Council, I'm going to give up a portion of my time from somebody that people would really like to see and listen to, Joe Donnelly.
Okay, thank you very much, Mayor Hardeman, members of the council, Cliff Gravier. Thank you for a few minutes to recap our alumni and anniversary weekend. There's a picture up here on the screen of one of our events from the weekend. This past weekend, the July 15th and 16th, we celebrated the history of the Bethany Beach Patrol, roughly the 90th anniversary of our lifeguards being on duty, with 3 different events. We had a welcome event on Saturday evening hosted by Mango's Restaurant. Sunday morning, as you see here, we gathered for a picture and a ceremonial in and out, which is a exercise of going into the water and out of the water, sort of like a simulated rescue. Thankfully, nobody got hurt on that one. I was holding my breath a couple of times, but the weekend was capped off with the anniversary celebration and reunion itself at the VFW Post in Ocean View. We had over 270 people in attendance. And really what we wanted to accomplish from this weekend is three things. Just to join the past and the present of our lifeguards, in a weekend, a chance to get away with their families and reconnect. But more importantly, we also wanted to raise money for our scholarship. We have a lifeguard scholarship that is given to one of our current guards each season. It's known as the Ed D. Memorial Scholarship Foundation. They have given, since 2006, they've given about $70,000 worth of scholarships to Bethany Beach lifeguards. And what we wanted to do is sort of give that a shot in the arm for years to come. And thanks to the town council, the town itself, for your donation and your support of this event. It's not an understatement for me to say that this would not have happened without your support. So I want to thank you from the many, many generations of Bethany Beach lifeguards for what you were able to do to help us out with this event. With this event, we were able to raise $14,600 for our scholarship, which was more than any of us could have hoped. So we're going to be able to continue the scholarship down the road. The other thing we wanted to accomplish out of this weekend is to create an alumni network to help our current guards take their next step in their lives, whatever that might be for their career, for their education, military, whatever it might be that they're interested in getting into. And we've had overwhelming response to that already, and we've barely gotten it off the ground. So again, it's on behalf of the generations of lifeguards, past and present, I want to thank you all for your support. Like I said, this would not have been possible without the support that you give us, not only every day, but for this event as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Donnelly. I just wanted to say I was down there on Sunday morning when they took the pictures, and thankfully the rain held off until the picture was taken. But if you could have seen the look on those lifeguards' faces, the ones who were returning, they were like little boys and little girls. It was just beautiful to see because they were so happy to be there. And I think the younger guards were happy to see them too.
100%.
Yeah.
The getting together, sharing stories, sharing laughs, and not just the lifeguards, but their families as well. We had some kids in attendance. We had both young and older kids. It was really special. The feedback that I've gotten this week has been extraordinary. This is something that we would like to do maybe every 4 or 5 years at this type of scale, to not only bring people back together, but to also to continue the scholarship into the future.
And if anyone wanted to contribute to that, how would they go about it?
That is one of the things that we're getting off the ground currently. We don't have a way to do it electronically currently. It's something that's in the works. We hope to have a website up here soon and a way to be able to contribute online. We do have a mailing address. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me at the moment, but for folks to feel free to email me at any time at my town email address, I'd be happy to pass that on to anyone that would like to, or just wants more information about it.
Okay. And one more thing, is there going to be a competition down here at the end of the month, the way there usually is?
Yes, this Monday evening, the 24th of July, we are hosting our local lifeguard competition. So lifeguards from Ocean City all the way up through Cape Henlopen will be in attendance here. It's about 10 to 12 agencies that will be competing in various running and swimming events right up here at Garfield Parkway in the beach.
Yeah. And it's an exciting event for anyone who hasn't been there. It's really a terrific competition.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a
it
lot
is.
of fun. Thank you very much, Captain Donnelly.
Thank you. Much
And
appreciated.
does anybody here have anything? Anybody want to ask any? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Captain Donnelly.
Thank you.
Joe, great job. Maybe you should do this every month. Okay. Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much.
I do have one thing to say. I was up on the beach a few weeks ago, and it was the surf was way up. I think we had a storm roll through, and I saw Captain Donnelly and the entire team out there practicing in the water. So just the amount of work that goes in behind the scenes that we don't see was really impressive. It was a day that I wouldn't have wanted to swim out there, so it was cool to see him making everybody get out there. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So topical, certainly here in the last several days, is the amount of rainfall we've had in Bethany Beach. Sunday was a real aberration here weather-wise, where we saw 4.5, 4.6 inches of rainfall in about a 3-hour period. The majority of that fell in the first 90 minutes or so of that weather event. And the flooding was something we've not seen here in Bethany Beach probably since the winter storm of '98. We had flooding on Route 1, we had flooding on Route 26. East-west streets east of Route 1 from Oakwood to 5th were flooded, and many of them flooded across Pennsylvania into the 100 block. Tingle, Evans, Gibson, Salt Pond Circle, inundating rain, incredible. You see this shot here where the rain is up to the axles in the car in front of Sedona's. Just an incredible event. The problem we have here with events like this is that we have open swales. The open swales fill quickly, and we were fortunate here with the events we've had in the last couple or a few days in that the tidal levels have been lower in the loop, and eventually the waters really receded fairly quickly. If any of this that we're seeing now were accompanied by high tidal issues, we would be days draining. As it is, most streets drain in 2 days at a max. Some are drained almost immediately. But one of the interesting things here, you'll see the dates on these pictures. You'll see the July 16th pictures. This is Hollywood looking towards the ocean. This is Route 1 on the 16th. And this is the 5 inches of rain. Since then, we've had another soaker for 1 inch a day and a half ago. And this morning, in 30 minutes, we picked up another 1 inch of rain. And these are photos from 1 inch of rain in a 30-minute period this morning throughout town. So the ground is inundated. This is not a community at the sea level we exist in where this dissipates or flows quickly, and these are issues we have. Some people have asked us why we don't prepare for these. Well, one of the reasons is that it's how do you prepare for something like this? In the 10 days leading up to July 16th and that 5-inch events, we had 10 separate days where we were warned about potential thunderstorms and flash floods. So we can't stand at ready constantly, especially with the size staff we have, to put up barricades, which is all we can do. And what we saw on the 16th is that most of our barricades washed away. So this is an issue we're having with this summer with thunderstorms. We do all we can. We pick up a lot of phone calls. My yard is flooded. My swale is flooded the next day. We try to explain as best we can what the circumstances are. But so far, it's been an unusual summer with these storms. So, Mayor?
What, didn't the firehouse flood too?
Oh, the firehouse at the lower level flooded, and they had to push the water out and wait for the water to recede. That's a spot there in Hollywood which washes across Route 1 rarely, but that's a spot where it does flood. The floodwaters were so high that they were on the bank in front of Wawa, and that's a veritable hill for Bethany Beach. So that's how high those waters were. So on unusual events, and we do what we can. We've put a good number of more barricades at different locations because we keep on having these inundating rains, but staffing them and trying to keep it all going in events like this are difficult for us. Beach replenishment. Beach replenishment is done for all intents and purposes. The pipes are gone, the barges are gone. Right now, they are beginning to rebuild crossovers. They're beginning on 3rd Street. They'll work on crossovers moving south. As they finish crossovers, we will put Moby mats down. When they get to the end of Oakwood and do the crossover there and the Wellington ramp, then they'll start with putting in railings on the crossovers. We've been told, and unfortunately we're not very happy about this, we've been told that DENREC has asked the Corps not to put fences on our paths to the beach, on our crossovers. Instead, they want to put a post and rope railing system down instead of a solid snow fence. We've gone back to to DENREC, and we're asking if we absorb the cost if we cannot put snow fence down. The problem we'll have if we don't put snow fence down is that the Moby mats will soon be covered with sand because of wind action. So we'll probably do that ourselves, but it's something preliminarily that may be installed as rope and post. In addition, the replenishment area ends at Oakwood Street, and there's no intention for the Corps, on the Corps' part, to put any snow fence from Oakwood south to the town limits. We are probably going to do that ourselves also and absorb that cost that needs to be done. In talking about replenishment, we still get a number of questions about two things. One of them is why replenishment didn't extend north past Ocean View Parkway, and one, why doesn't it extend south past Oakwood? The Army Corps determines, based on the amount of sand lost when they do initial surveys, where they do replenishment work. And in their surveys of the town, they determined that the areas that needed to be replenished were between Ocean View Parkway and Oakwood. They taper to the beaches north and south of the specific spots where they end, but that's the project area, and that's where they work. The other issue that we still have questions about is that why did the town schedule replenishment in the middle of the summer? And we answered the question. we answered the question
Scott did.
constantly. Replenishment work cost millions and millions of dollars. I would say over the last 10 to 15 years, about $100 million has been spent on repairing beaches south of the Indian River Inlet, and that expense is split between the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers at 65% and the state of Delaware at 35%. The Army Corps draws designs for beach replenishment. The Army Corps bids packages to private contractors for beach replenishment, and they work out schedules with the contractor. There is no input from the state. There is no input from local government. As a matter of fact, the mayor tried to work with our congressional delegation to do something, anything we possibly could, so we could have July 4th fireworks, and we were not able to change any of the scheduling to be able to facilitate that, and hence they were canceled because we had no beach to shoot the fireworks from. But out of our hands, we have nothing to do with the scheduling. And again, we continue to get people that complain or call about it. Residents who we hope we've reached out and touched, but still aren't informed about the issue. With the replenishment done, we'll begin our beach activities on the beach in front of the Garfield Parkway area. The beach will be lit. We'll have the cornhole boards. We'll have the volleyball set back up. That will begin Tuesday night, and we'll continue that throughout the summer. We may work it into the fall if we possibly can, and that will be every night except nights for the movies and bandstand performances. Speaking of movies, the Travel Mag, a very successful .com on the internet, just awarded Bethany one of its 20 best summer outdoor movie events in the United States. So we'll put that up on our wall also, our wall of fame out here. We continue to work to try to do a good job in streaming our bandstand performances live. We have the audio down. We don't have the video portion down. We're looking at different video platforms that we might be able to use to do this without a lot of success, and now we're looking to see if we might be able to subcontract the video portion of it to put out a quality product. So if you do want to sit home and not hit the bandstand with 1,000 other people, you might be able to do that and enjoy what's being presented there. Our trash truck pilot program, which we've talked about in the council before, not our trash container pilot program, where we are going to put out 96-gallon plastic rollout containers in Lake Bethany and Turtle Walk on a volunteer participatory basis, is underway. We have sent letters to all the homeowners in both those communities asking those that want to participate to let us know. This will be a trial program, and it might be something that we'll consider moving forward to create some more efficiencies in our trash pickup service. We pick up trash like it's 1930 or 1940, and I think we probably need to move into the future for a number of issues, not the least of which is being able to staff the trash trucks here, in which we are now having issues with.
Will they be similar to the recycling bins?
Yes, they'll just be,
Same
they'll be larger,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And lastly, I would like to thank, we've talked about the great job the committee does and Mr. Fry does with the parade. I'd like to thank our staff for the tremendous amount of work that they put into the 4th of July parade. They were spared a little bit, not having fireworks. It makes it a super long day, but they put in an incredible amount of work. This year, as sort of a safety precaution and for other issues, We did use a trash truck to block Garfield Parkway and South Pennsylvania Avenue, and I promise we won't do that again. We'll find something that's a little bit more appealing to put out there on Parade Day. And Mayor, that's all I have.
How about a tank from the National Guard?
Yes, I think it's a great idea.
And I'd like to put in a plug for when we finally get the bandstand performances televised. It would be a great thing if you wanted to call in and get a meal from your favorite restaurant downtown, go down, pick it up in one of the 15-minute parking spots, and go home and watch the bandstand performance. Just a plug for our restaurants. Thank you very much, Mr. Gravier.
Here.
Any comments, questions? Anyone? Yes, please, hold on. Yeah. Please state your name and address.
Hello. Hello, Claire Scarda from 513 Lorma Lane. I just wanted a quick note that some of the Moby mats get installed upside down, like literally some of the Moby mats on the crossovers get put in upside down, and they're really tough on the feet. I don't know if it's intentional or just mistaken, but it makes a difference.
Okay.
Okay. Just
Noted.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
One more.
I just had a question about the trash, Jen Carter. So would those bins be something that then people take their trash to? What is, I don't know.
These are the roller bins that you see most everywhere else in the world, if you will.
The ones we use for recycle as well? Like that same kind of thing?
They'll be for both, and they're 96 gallons. They'll contain probably a lot more than we're able to put into many of the small containers in front of your home, which may at some point in time have us make fewer pickups and fewer rounds. But that's something we're looking at, and we want to see how well it's accepted in those two communities.
Anyone else?
I mean, it was one of the newer trash trucks here at the.
I know it was one of the newer ones,
it
but
looked good.
still, you know.
I actually thought that the forethought and the planning that went into actually closing the streets this year made a lot of sense, and I appreciated it. Trash trucks are now.
The changing world, and unfortunately, we have to change with it, yes.
Yes.
Cliff, I just wanted to say the new sign on the park, Central Park, looks great. So just a comment.
Thank you.
And if you haven't seen it, please take a look at it when you go out. It looks great over there.
Just like I imagined it.
Okay, nobody else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gravier.
Yeah.
And there will be, following each of these items in the new business, there'll be, once the council finishes discussing it, it will be open for public comment. So the first item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and possible vote regarding the use of pervious asphalt for the Collins-Wellington Corridor Project. Mr. Gravier.
Mayor, on multiple occasions over the last 5 years, the town council has approved the construction of a pathway to increase pedestrian and bicycle safety on Collins. In our latest iteration of considering that pathway, the council decided to make the path 10 feet wide with an 8-foot multi-use pathway and a 10-foot buffer. Throughout, 2-foot buffer, yes, excuse me, yes. We wish a 10-foot buffer, but no, 2-foot, 2-foot buffer. During those discussions, we were asked issues about flooding, and the town has always advised that we don't have what we consider to be considerable flooding issues on Collins. We note, especially, for instance, from the rain this morning, the 1 inch that on some of the pictures that you were looking at, by 10 o'clock that rain had completely dissipated on Collins. And by Bethany standards, that's a good thing. But in doing this path, one of the things we were aware of was, and one of the things that has been pointed out to us, is that we're increasing the impervious surface of the roadway by 50%. This project has dragged on longer than we would like because of issues that our engineering firm has had with staffing. And because of that, we're having ongoing dialogues with the firm about where they are and how the project is progressing. And one of the conversations I had with our firm in late June, mid to late June, we went over again the issue of pervious pavement. Our engineers like the idea of pervious pavement, not because of absorption of rain, but because of installation. And one of the things they note and have always told us is that pervious pavement allows them to make transitions to driveways easier with less problem for the installation, and also stops the puddling of water on a newly paved surface. And that despite what you see on a road that appears to be flat, roads are never flat, and they always have indents that will hold water, and that it would be a very bad optic from their perspective and our perspective to blacktop that entire length with a pervious surface and still have puddling water. So they advocate for impervious surface, but not for the issue of filtration or infiltration, if you will. I asked our engineering firm to go back and take a look then at the estimates that they had given us previously for pervious pavement on the project, and not just the 10-foot pathway, but the whole 30-foot, 1,900-foot run of the surface for Collins Street, and a 5-foot pervious pathway on Wellington also. In earlier discussions here about a year and a half ago, and cost estimates from our engineer, they estimated that pervious pavement would add $600,000 to the project cost. Now they have come back to tell us that that pervious, to do 30 feet there and 5 foot on Wellington, would be $450,000, and essentially $150,000 less than they had previously planned. With the newest estimates on the project, and with the fact that we have set aside $1 million specifically for the project on Collins, and we have $775,000 in our paving, street paving line this year in the budget, that could easily help us bear the rest of the cost, which would be roughly $1.4 million to do Collins and Wellington impervious surface. And given the fact there's still citizen concern about the issue and about the possibility of flooding, I'm coming back to the council to ask the council if they would consider moving forward with the project, but doing the project with pervious asphalt.
Thank you, Mr. Carrier. Do I have a motion?
And an add-on to that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was also charged by the council to look into was stormwater issues in the Collins area. And we have done that, and we are working to put together what we think will be a very comprehensive stormwater drainage plan for the Collins corridor. We are calling the Collins corridor the area between Lakites and Candlelight within the 400 block of Collins. To date, we have done aerial LiDAR surveys, which is the gold standard for putting elevations on paper, if you will. And in areas where LiDAR couldn't penetrate tree cover, we've gone out and done a ground survey. That work has cost us about $30,000 to date, and the engineer and the surveyors are putting that data together. When that data is given to us, we will then give that to our engineering firm and ask them to look at all drainage and stormwater issues within this corridor, and to come back to us with what we hope will be a workable, detailed plan on how we might address a lot of the water that accumulates behind the homes there. We have essentially taken the street out of the equation if we go to impervious pavement, so that won't be an issue with whatever they design, but that's also a factor here in me coming back to you to talk to you about impervious surface, a pervious surface rather.
Do I have a, thank you, Mr. Gravier. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion regarding the use of pervious asphalt for the Collins-Wellington corridor project.
A second.
Do I have any discussion?
So what is the actual delta number that we're talking about?
1.45
That's the total project.
total project,
What's the delta number between pervious and non-pervious?
minus 450,000.
450,
Yes.
okay.
And how much do we have for grant money to cover this?
We have $1 million put aside between municipal street aid, ARPA money, and money from the state of Delaware for the project. It's roughly $1,070,000. We have $775,000 in our streets line, and that will leave us roughly $300,000 for street projects, which is roughly what we expend a year to do our annual maintenance on our streets.
So our annual maintenance will not suffer by using this money
We
elsewhere?
might do a little less, but it would be the cost of moving to the pervious pavement. But we'll have ample money to take care of major issues.
And in the last year, I think the last winter duration, there was quite a bit of street work that was
Yes,
done.
we had an extraordinary, we had queued up a bit, and we did a good bit in this last year.
Mr. Gravier, how long have we been dealing with this issue?
2016, 17?
Speaking of maintenance, I think we know now that South Atlantic Avenue requires more maintenance. The pervious paving on South Atlantic requires more maintenance than our typical paved areas. Do you have a sense of like the life cycle cost of doing this impervious paving? Like,
We clean South Atlantic as best we can at least twice a week. And our sweeper also has a vacuum function. It's not a vacuum function that sits directly on the ground, unfortunately, for what we experience in South Atlantic. But in terms of an overall cost for maintenance, no, I don't. It would be the use of the sweeper. Conditions on Atlantic and Collins will be distinctly different in that the problem on South Atlantic is sand, and we won't have that issue on Collins. And the water still does infiltrate. It doesn't do it as quickly as it once did. When the project was completed, I'm sure you know, water was gone immediately. But over the course of time, as sand fills the pores of the roadway, it takes a little longer.
But it still
infiltrates,
porous,
yes.
And we wouldn't have the same problem with parking.
No.
This
Well, and one of the
scouring.
issues in terms of maintenance has been that the parking spots on South Atlantic, the tires, when the paving gets very warm, it scuffs the top of the pavement. That won't be an issue on Collins. And one other thing we would be doing is we effectively, by doing this, we would increase the pervious surface of Collins by 50%.
Yes.
go ahead.
Okay.
I just was going to say that I think obviously the easiest thing to have done from a town's perspective is to just take the last vote we made and move forward with it and not consider any of the things we asked you to consider on stormwater and pervious paving. So I appreciate the effort that's gone into this and redoubling our efforts to try to make Collins the Collins project as good as it can be. So thank you.
Do you have a timetable on that? When is this going out for bid, do you think?
It would go to bid here late summer, September, with work to begin probably late fall. Completion date would probably be in early spring.
Okay. And does it take a little longer with pervious?
One of the things that might happen with pervious is when the project is ready to be paved, the ambient outside temperature needs to be in the 50s consistently before they can lay the pavement.
And that's different from impervious?
It's different from the impervious, yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, Cliff, you said 50% increase, but actually you're doing the whole road, so it's.
Well, in terms of what's there today, it would be so there's 40 feet, we would increase impervious by 50%.
Yeah.
And that's big math for me, that could be wrong, so.
Increase impervious?
Increase impervious surface would be 50%.
He's saying right now
I
that
thought you said increase
I may have.
impervious surface. I'm sorry. I was confused.
I may have.
And the buffer is it be determined what the buffer will be made out of?
The buffer
I
would
would
probably
assume-
just be paint or some sort of a surface
Oh, so
material.
it would be surfaced with the impervious, okay.
Which is what the council voted to do the last time. One of the thoughts has been the knockdown pylon, but I'm not sure how effective that would be, and that would be something we would talk about with the engineer as the project progressed.
And we're still putting in the speed signs, the speed bumps, and everything that we had agreed to before.
Yes.
Do you have any sense of when the engineering portion of it would be done, the engineering study?
They have to update their bid documents. I think they can do that fairly quickly. The staffing issues they have had with the firm we've been using has been designed. The people that put bid documents together and do their construction oversight are fully staffed and have always been receptive, so I think that happens quickly.
And even though the Rossi engineering portion of it with the stormwater is separate, when do they have any kind of a anticipation when that would be done?
I've not asked them when they receive our documents, our survey documents and our elevations for that whole corridor, how long it will take them. No, I don't have an estimate on that.
But that is separate.
It's separate, and it's two different engineering firms.
Anyone?
in a point of process, we're not considering whether or not to do the Collins project. We're just considering whether to do it in pervious paving. or
Yes,
not.
you voted to move ahead with it. Now the decision I'm asking you to consider is whether to switch to the pervious as opposed to the impervious.
I know from a budget standpoint, that we definitely have enough funds to take care of this.
Yes.
It won't be any, the town will not suffer because of this.
Yeah, I guess on that note, we just talked about the amount of rain that we got in a short period of time. I think this is probably our new normal. And so, we talked about Collins doesn't have, relative to some other streets in town, Pennsylvania being, North Pennsylvania being maybe the most glaring of them, the significant issues, but these are real issues that I think that we should be working to solve throughout town, and wherever we can, think about our planning with stormwater in mind, because it's only going to get worse from here on out.
Well, as we do this study, as I mentioned earlier, by doing the pervious surface on the road, when the engineers look at solutions, we've then taken the road out of the equation and let them focus on other things, so.
I think there are roads, though, that are not conducive to pervious pavement because they are so low.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a, every problem looks like a nail if all you have is a hammer. I don't think it's that exactly. So I appreciate the separate stormwater planning that you guys are doing too. It's going to take all kinds of different techniques to deal with the issues that we'll face over the next 20 to 50 years, I think.
And the pervious installation also requires an 18-inch subbed of stone, so it almost acts like a French drain in and of itself.
Yeah.
To a certain degree, so.
Stores water as well.
Yes, as a French drain does, yes. Holds and stores until it infiltrates.
Does anyone on council have anything else to say? Okay, with that, does anyone, is there a sign-up sheet in the back of the room? Is it signed up? Lucky guess, first one on is Jennifer Carter.
Hi. 429 Collins, Jennifer Carter. First of all, thank you for considering this. And I'd like to do, as a point of record, is that better?
Yes, that's
Mayor?
better.
Just as a point of record, I would like to state that the citizens and residents on Collins Street and Wellington and Kent have been asking for pervious pavement. It just is a little thing, but we could just make sure that people know we've been asking for this for years. I understand that there, and the response was denied because of the situation on Atlantic and someplace else. I don't know what the other situation was that pervious didn't work well, so I understand that. It was also that, like we keep saying, we keep hearing, that there isn't a flooding problem on Collins. There is a flooding problem on Collins, and thank you, Mr. Edmondson, for bringing that up, because there is. We understand it's not as terrible as other places, but we still exist, and we've said before also, we'd like to be part of, and we are now, I think, considered as part of the overall plan for stormwater and drainage management, the system, and an infrastructure if an engineer is working on that, and I think that's what you're saying, right? That there's an engineer who's contemplating the outcomes and what we can do about stormwater drainage and problems that we have
Yes.
across town. So thank you. I came into town for a meeting, and this has to do also with the pervious, because we keep on talking about a matter of speed, and I'm thinking, is that going to affect pervious, the pervious pavement? I can't imagine it would, but the town now has a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit, correct?
No,
There's one on Hollywood, or on I forget where I was. It's posted in both directions, east and west. It's 15 miles per hour.
I've not seen that, and
Yes, sir.
it's not a town sign.
Yes, sir. So I'll be glad to send you a picture.
Please.
But what I would request again, as we requested, is could we please have 15 miles per hour or 20 on Collins? We were told that it's not enforceable, but if it's enforceable downtown, it should be enforceable other places in Bethany.
Again,
So-
I'm not aware of any posting of any 15-mile-per-hour speed limit signs unless citizens have gone out and done it themselves, so.
Now, these look like really official signs. I'll show you the picture.
Please.
No problem.
please.
No problem.
And also the street and exactly where it is.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
It shows in the picture. Okay, so that, I'm sorry, trying to do everything. I'm representing some people here. The pervious pavement does not preclude that will fix the drainage problem, and you're saying that, right? It's like, it will be a big help, and that's fabulous, and we want it. But there's still a drainage and water.
You have significant drainage issues behind
Yes.
your homes.
Yes.
I know it's been, I guess from your perspective, persuasive to say that that's caused by runoff from the street. The town doesn't think so. You have swales built behind your homes that aren't connected to anything. Your lots were sold individually, not by a developer, and there was never any comprehensive stormwater management put in. Individuals did what individuals did behind their home. It collects water, and we're going to study that and try to move that water out of those lots for you.
I would venture to say that Candlelight Lane may have done the original swale behind our homes, because we didn't dig it. And I know my neighbors in 1983, who were just building then too, and in the 80s, did not dig it. It
And
was
one
already
developer
there.
did Candlelight, so they may well have put the swale in.
Right. So thank you for considering that. But also, Mr. Edmondson, at another meeting you mentioned, we were talking about trees. Please don't take down any more trees. And I'm wondering if there could be, I trust your engineers, but somebody who is a swale and ditch, I don't know, detail person, that's their bailiwick, that maybe these should be filled in. I mean, maybe they're not doing what they should be doing, what we think they're doing. So that would be something.
So
just
are you speaking about the swales or the ditches behind your homes?
Behind.
Or are you talking about Collins Street?
behind, but it's Collins Street.
Okay.
But also they're in front, because in some places, yes, like the townhomes, I guess that developer did ditches there with the driveways, going across and whatever, and a couple of other places in Bethany West as well, they did ditches, and people always complained about them, so I don't.
So I look for minimal impact, if any, on Collins with the removal of any trees, but not knowing what the engineer is going to find, but knowing what the visuals look like behind the homes on Collins, I don't know how we create a swale system where some trees might not have to be removed. Certainly, that's not anybody's wish, but if that's what it takes to move water, that might be what it takes to move water.
But that's what I'm asking. So I'm trusting your engineers, but I think there should be somebody that's their really specific concern and experience in that kind of thing and what they do. I haven't researched it yet, but it's like, what do swales do, and how do they not work, is, I guess, because these aren't working. So so if they don't work, we could get rid of them and let the trees do their thing, by filling in. So I'm just saying, somebody specific who knows all of this. We talked to one of our political representatives also, drove him around to see what the whole situation is, and he's concerned about Kent, but also down further, because Double Bridges has on the docket right now, the state, a huge cycling and pedestrian pathway going in, a whole project. It hasn't started, it's on the books. The one at Hudson, there's already a trail there, and they're going to connect it, so it goes further to the highway. So there are other things concerns about bicycle and pedestrian safety, and I didn't want to get up and say it, but then, I'm sorry, I'm kind of out of order, but I just wanted to say that the part of Kent that's part of this project, I would hope that somebody is in charge of at least prodding the state to be in coordination, and that's why we're talking to him, with this project. So that, again, like way back when it was projected just to do Collins Street, that we don't dump them onto Kent before it's done, or way too far in advance of when it's complete, because that would be a dangerous situation. So I'm hoping somebody's job is coordinating that with the state.
Yes,
Thank you.
so noted.
Thank you. The signs also that were, I requested on either side of the speed bumps to say 15, bumps 15 miles per hour, again, to try to get people to slow down. It's not an enforceable thing, it's a warning thing, and instead, and thank you for them anyway, we appreciate any kind of warning, but they just say bumps ahead, speed bumps ahead, so if we could do that. I know, I'm pervious, I know. We have about 65 plus signatures on our petition to conduct an EIS. You're not, the town, is not required to do so. We know that. We understand, but we'd really like one because it seems to all of that. The Sussex Conservation District plans need to be submitted to them, and that's a sediment and stormwater plan. To me, it seems to all kind of go together. So it's with the pervious, same thing.
Excuse me, I don't think the people who signed it, the way it reads on the petition, is our ongoing request for a thorough independent drainage study and/or an EIS, and that's what people signed.
What date is that?
That's
what they. Okay.
I was sent that, yes.
But I think that's
and
what
I
it
didn't
is.
count 60-some signatures.
They've increased.
Well,
Sorry.
I didn't get
I
the
know.
increase. I'm sorry.
They
I
sent it
have
this morning.
49.
Right. They
you.
sent it this morning.
Okay.
But anyway.
But I just want to
thank you.
clarify that it doesn't say strictly. It's not strictly for an EIS. It's an independent engineer study, which is what we're doing.
Okay, so, but we're still,
Let's clarify that.
I accept that, but we're still really, please, look into it more, very deeply.
We are looking into it. Thank you.
Well, I don't know that we are looking into, Mayor, are we? I think the engineer's study on drainage and stormwater trumps any sort of an EIS. An EIS would be looking at the roadway, the 40-foot right-of-way the town owns. In terms of environmental impact in that right-of-way, what we will be doing is disturbing existing stone, dirt, and asphalt, and then increasing the pervious surface on the roadway by 50%. So in terms of environmental issues, I think we're past that. I think what we're now looking at is doing something that helps you with stormwater and drainage runoff. And
Terrific.
I hope that's understood, and I hope it's appreciated.
And that's why I'm saying it today, because I know people at home are watching and want to make sure that at least I've represented what they wanted represented. I just as a very quick aside, I saw I think it was on the Bethany website, that there's some issue of sinking. I mean, it was noted somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it. So I'm thinking, is that also part of the engineer's study, looking at how because we are sinking, the whole world, wherever we are is sinking. So is that kind of woven into the study as well?
Well, I hope we get the road built before then.
Yeah, exactly. Or are we going to be so far below the road? I guess that's my last question. The existing road, to make it pervious, it will need to be taken out, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I think that's all for now. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Ms. Card. Now, Emily Gaither, are you talking about this subject?
Hi, sorry. My name's Emily. I'm with the Bethany Fenwick Chamber. I just signed in. Didn't know that was signing up to talk, but I figured I'd introduce
Now you have to talk
myself.
about Collins Street.
Yeah, now you have to talk about Collins.
I don't have anything to say. Thank you for having me.
Do you know where? All right, wait a minute now. Let's welcome Emily. Emily's a new employee with the chamber. Thank you, Emily.
That's funny, actually.
Better point across.
The next one is Kate McNamee.
Kate McNamee, 433 Collins Street. I just had a couple questions, clarifying questions. Is the whole road getting paved or just the 5 feet on each side? And we're keeping what's already there? Is the whole road?
There'll be a 30-foot section of the right-of-way that will be paved, the entire 30-foot section for 1,900 approximate feet.
And it'll all be pervious.
It will all be pervious, yes.
The whole road will now be
The whole road will be pervious.
So what's there today will be gone.
Okay, great. So I have a lot of, like this last thing, my whole backyard was a flood. I'm not worried about that as much as I am as the flooding in the street. And I hope it gets covered, but you're gonna take out gravel, you're gonna take out grass, and maybe trees. that would have absorbed some of the rain. And you said that the roads always bend to the sides to some degree. So the water that will go there is what the people are going to be walking in. So I just hope all that's accounted for.
Well, the grade will be restored. We won't leave ditches, if you will. We won't,
I don't
we
mean
won't,
the
we
ditches, I
excavate.
mean,
And
right
but-
now, we always have water on both sides when it
Right.
rains.
Well,
And that will, you said would still be there
well,
because
the
of
pervious surface should take care of that.
Oh,
The water should be absorbed through the blacktop
Okay.
surface itself.
Okay, perfect. Just no more water on.
Thank you. Janie Switzer. Oh, okay. Thank you. Claire Scorda. Oh, that's okay. All right, thank you. Does anyone else have any, please come up and identify yourself, sir, and your address. Please be careful.
Jerry Keating, 411 Collins Street. And I pretty much have resigned myself to the fact that you have the right to widen the right-of-way and pave it. My question is, and I wrote to the town manager in the spring, and of course, apparently the Public Works Director's been out with back injury. So anyway, my question is, have you done the assessment with the engineering and whomever else regarding moving or removing telephone poles and other things in the right-of-way? Because if you don't remember my house, it's the duplex with very little parking for two families, and so I'm terribly concerned about where I'm going to park and my guests. So I was just wondering if you've looked into that.
We have looked into it, and I'm don't remember what the exact response was, but I'll double check again for you. And when you met with the Public Works Director, what did he tell you?
Well, okay, I hadn't met with him. I mean, I talked to him the other day, but it was in a restaurant, and I didn't think
Oh, okay.
he wanted to be approached. I work for the government,
All right.
too, I understand that.
Good-
So,
good idea.
So anyway, I didn't dare ask him about, but I was just wondering because my neighbor, the other neighbor who we share, it's dividing our property line, he also would love to see it removed. We both have buried our utilities when we did a previous renovation, so it wouldn't be an issue. It would just open up. It would make a world of difference since I'm losing 5. You are still doing the 5 feet on the north side, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There was an issue with getting the other lines off. So your request was to underground, since you'd already underground some of your utilities,
Yeah.
but not all of your utilities. And I think the problem we came up with was that Verizon would probably be reluctant to pull their lines off the poles. But let me go back and double check that. There are existing lines that are not undergrounded on those poles.
Okay.
Correct?
There are existing
Okay.
lines,
So
but I don't
we
know.
we need to look at that, but we did preliminarily take a look at it, and I forget our response, and I
Yeah,
apologize.
'cause that's right on the edge of where the roadway will be, if not on it. It's really, really close, so I
Right,
would
we know.
think that's an issue with, somebody running into
Okay.
a pole. But, okay, well, thank you for listening.
Sir?
Thank,
Do you have a question, or you just said sir?
oh, no.
No, sir.
Um, Please state your name and address.
Andrea Keating, 411 Collins, and we haven't talked about this, so I hope we're not arguing on the way home. My question is, and you're familiar with our property, it's the duplex that is built closer to the road than any other house on Collins. We've been grandfathered in with that. By moving the street over 5 feet closer to our home, we pretty much lose our entire front yard. And my question is, does that violate any setback rules of building close to the street? Because I think pretty much we could, shake people's hands from the front porch when they're walking down the street. And are there any setback rules?
No, it does not. As you said, you were grandfathered, and we have a number of homes, many homes throughout town that violate existing setback rules, and they just exist today as they were constructed.
But moving the street closer to our home,
Well, your home would be in violation, and no, it wouldn't be, because the town wouldn't do that. You're grandfathered.
And when your home was built, it was built with that in mind, where the right-of-way ended and then your home began. So this isn't taking anything and moving you closer. It was measured from the end point, the 40 feet to begin with.
Okay, so it also doesn't impact any building restrictions on the percentage on the footprint on the property?
No.
No, it should not.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your grandfather times 2.
Does anyone else have anything to say? Mr. Trodden?
My reservations about the wisdom of the whole project, I've stated previously. I won't repeat them here. I have 3 simple factual questions for Mr. Gravier. I just want to make sure I heard your estimate, Cliff, about start and stop. You said early spring, I think. I wasn't clear whether that applied to Collins or to the entire project.
The entire project.
Entire project. Good. Secondly, I know estimates are on construction timeframes are problematic, but do you have any idea how long those of us on either Collins or Wellington are going to be deprived of access to their garages?
I would say hours.
Oh, hours, okay.
Yeah, and when I've gone over this specifically, because you're a 5-foot pathway, I mean, so there'll be prep, the prep will pass your house, and you might during that point in time not be able to access your property. And then at the point in time the property is blacktopped or the pathway is blacktopped, then you'd have limited access for whatever period of time it takes for the blacktop to cure. That should be about it.
Okay. And then lastly, the question I ponder, first of all, I want to applaud the decision or proposal to do pervious. But now that I think about that, I wonder what sense it makes to tear up already pervious pavers that were put in at the town's encouragement in order to put pervious blacktop. Why can you not run the pervious blacktop up to the pervious pavers? And just a question.
So individual homeowners make the decision, and we applaud you for doing your driveway in a pervious surface.
Right.
But then you extend into the right-of-way. So I don't think we've ever encouraged anyone to put pervious surface in the right-of-way, and you do that generally for the aesthetic of it. For us to create a path that makes sense for people to walk on, the surface material should all be consistent. So
I hear you. They're already walking on that pervious paver.
I understand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Trodden. Okay. Oh, did you say 1 minute? Did you say 1 minute? Because I'm... No, take your time. Take your time.
I'm a past teacher. I can
Don't
talk.
take too much of your time.
Okay. First of all, we as a group just want to say we are all for the communication and education and everything for everybody in the whole town, and that's why we put together the website betterbbpath.com. It doesn't say stop the path. It says Better BB Path, and that's why we've been represented here and the people at home right now to try to work with you all, and I think we've tried to do a really good job of that, and thank you for helping. I just want to put it out there, betterbbpath.com. The other thing is, Mr. Gravier, you've done a great job also speaking with me about communication, and the newsletter that you guys have presented now is wonderful. And on this topic, there was a list of people who received information, the response, mayor's response, right? Sent out. What I was asking before, though, and what I'm just going to ask again, is that with technology, there should be some way to isolate any and all emails that you have as part of the town roster that have signed up for listserv that are within the Kent, Wellington, Collins Street areas, so that those can be lumped, and everybody, whether they've if they've signed up for listserv, we keep on telling people to do that too, just for everything to know. But if they've signed up for listserv and they're on the list, can that area be isolated so that that area gets announcements every other week, whatever it is that you choose, so that everyone is in the know. This is going to begin between this address and this address on Monday, the blah, blah, blah. We should be, just like you're doing for the pathways to the beach, same kind of thing. We have elderly people, they do have email, that would like to hear because they don't see outside of their own homes. And I'm afraid if they see big machines and they're not aware, they didn't get the message, they're not here today, that they'll know. Anybody who needs to know will know as far as you're concerned, who's in that area. Is that possible?
We don't have a way to geolocate email addresses.
Okay.
We can isolate phone numbers, but we can't do that with email addresses.
Oh, so it'd be that red thing.
If you have a list of people you would like to have us put on some sort of a chain or email chain
Fabulous.
specific to this area, we'd be glad to try to accommodate that. But
Fabulous.
in terms of any type of construction, town staff, construction staff will go door to door. People will be well notified, well in advance. No one will just show up and begin to demolish the street. So that just won't happen.
Good to know. We'd still like communication, though, if you can do it. And the last thing is, I did call my insurance agent about the difference if the road being closer to the home will cause a difference in insurance, because traffic will be closer to the home. She said no, that it won't, but I should call Sussex County because the property value may change, our assessment may change because of the road, and even though I said up front, they're allowed to do this, it's the right of way. And she said, still call Sussex County. So I'm just letting you know that's been done. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. I would point out, you talked about the town newsletter. Yes. The beautiful picture at the top on the front is Jen Carter's. And so thank you for letting us use it. Anyone else? Okay. Hearing nothing. Once, twice. Jen, no, Jen, put your fan down.
Oh, see?
Okay. All right, now we,
Yeah, one more coming up.
oh. Mr. Galata. Please up
Let's
to the
come up to the microphone,
sir,
please.
Steve. Be careful.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and appreciate your council members. My name is Steve Galata, 310 Wellington Parkway. Now, Wellington Parkway is on a slope going down from the library to Route 1. The center of Wellington is about 2 inches higher than the sides. When we have rainstorms, the sides, the south and north sides of Wellington, we have torrential puddles and water rushing down Route 1. Now, your sidewalk, your walkway that you plan on putting in, we get a lot of debris coming down from Kent. Well, anyway, we have a lot of trees. We have a lot of pine trees. We've got oak trees, acorns, whatever, that will fall on the walkway. Now, I'm wondering, is the town going to budget money to maintain the walkways, saying cleaning off the sidewalks, will it be walkable? No. Or, I hope, depend on the property owners to clean off the walkway.
Atlantic Avenue South Atlantic Avenue is a pervious material. And we try, during the summer it's more difficult, but we try at least 2 times a week to use our sweeper on South Atlantic because of that pervious material. We will have to do basically the same thing, maybe not with the same frequency because you don't have the sand issue on Collins and Wellington, but we'll have to do it with some frequency moving forward once the project is completed.
I've never seen any road sweepers come up Wellington and clean off Wellington.
Well, I mean, we're talking about now trying to keep the pervious pathway clear. And not just, we don't have the wherewithal to street sweep the entire town. We don't have the staff to do that, so.
Steve Trotton mentioned about cars being able to get in and out of our driveways. Where are we gonna park?
Well, it's an issue, yeah, but it's also part of the right-of-way for public thoroughfare, more than it is for parking, so.
Yeah, okay. And also, back up a little bit. With the water running down Wellington, some of the water turns into my driveway. I had to change the height of the driveway to stop the water coming in. Now, I hope the contractors are going to take and kind of do the same thing to prevent the water from coming into driveways.
One of the reasons the engineer is a fan of or advocates for pervious surface is because it makes their job much easier in trying to work through those driveway transitions. It's much easier for them to do with the pervious material than it is impervious. So I think they'll be able to deal with your situation.
Okay. All right, good enough. Thank
Sir.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Glatta.
All right,
Okay,
next item on the agenda?
oh, we have to take a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. I want to say thank you to everyone who came today, too, and who took the time to come and to also to voice your opinion. We really appreciate it, and to write. So thank you. Okay.
All right, the next item on the agenda, an ordinance to amend Chapter 301, Smoking Outdoors, Section 1, definitions of the Bethany Beach Town Code by deleting the words tobacco, herbs, weed, marijuana, etc. This is a first reading. Mayor.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Kilmer. We have, right now we have an ordinance on the books that deals with smoking. And as you know, we prohibit smoking all the time in the public places like the children's playground, on public parks, on the bandstand and the boardwalk area. And we do allow smoking apparently on the beach, except from May 15th to September 15th. Now, the definition of smoking that we have here currently says the smoking, burning, heating, inhaling, or exhaling of any substance, and in parentheses it says tobacco, herbs, weeds, marijuana, etc., by any type of delivery system. So if you're saying that that's the definition of smoking, and smoking is allowed on the beach, except from May 15th to September 15th, when it's only allowed in designated spaces, inadvertently we're saying that you can smoke marijuana on the beach throughout the year and in designated spots from May 15th to September 15th. I believe that was inadvertently put in there because we were talking about prohibiting smoking in these public places. And when we came to allowing it on the beach from May 15th to September 15th, or allowing it in certain designated spaces, we didn't really pay attention to the definition. So what we'd like to do is to remove from the definition the four examples: tobacco, herbs, weeds, marijuana, etc., and just have the smoking by any type of delivery system would be prohibited in those areas, and it would be permitted in designated spots on the beach from May 15th to September 15th, so that we're not inadvertently allowing marijuana to be smoked. Okay? Now, do we need a motion for a first reading, or do we?
No.
No? Okay. Do we have any discussion? Oh, please.
Andrea Keating again. Does vaping fall within that criteria?
Yes. Yes, yes.
So
The
should
rest
be-
of it, excuse me, says, this includes electronic vapor-generated devices known as e-cigarettes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
First reading. Yeah. Next one.
Well, ask if maybe anybody wants to say anything.
Does anybody in the audience have any comments they'd like to make regarding this first reading? All right. Anybody on council?
Nope.
All right. The next item on the agenda is an ordinance adding Chapter 218, regulating the production and sale of marijuana in the town of Bethany Beach. Mayor.
Okay. As you know, when the possessing a certain amount of marijuana and also smoking it in non-public places was passed this year, there was a provision in the bill that it said a municipality may prohibit the operation of marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, or retail stores through enactment of an ordinance or through an initiated or referred measure. And as you know, there are a number of local towns, especially the beach towns. Dewey Beach has already prohibited, Fenwick Island, Ocean View is talking about it, Rehoboth Beach is talking about it. And so that we're raising this issue now. This is a proposed ordinance that would do the same thing. It would read, "No business license shall be issued for any operation of marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, retail marijuana stores, or marijuana smoking lounges in the town of Bethany Beach." So that's the way it would read. Does anyone?
Do you have any comments, questions? Anyone in the audience have any comments or questions?
Okay.
All right.
I guess I have one, which is it says it prohibits retail marijuana stores, but should it also prohibit other stores from selling marijuana?
Only stores that are specifically licensed, and there's only probably about
this
2
covers it
dozen
anyway.
Yeah.
through the entire state, so.
And that process will start next year sometime, 2024, where they'll be approving licenses for that.
Because I think you have to have, you have to be regulated to.
That's all you can sell?
It's all
Yes.
regulated,
Okay.
yeah.
Like a package store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You next.
And nobody has anything?
No, nobody.
All right, what's the next one?
Shepherd and Morris. But move the final.
Okay, the next item is discussion, consideration, and possible vote on a resolution to approve the final annual assessment list as presented on July 21st, 2023. Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mayor. The tax assessment list has been on the town website since June 16th.
Thank you.
And today we held a tax meeting at 1 p.m. for homeowners to contest their assessment. Since we have no owners contesting their assessment, I make the motion that we accept and approve the list as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. And the final item on the agenda is discussion, consideration, and next to final, and possible vote to add Art Diver as a member of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee. Mr. Shepley.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Diver has made it known that he would like to serve on the Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Committee. He's talked to Mr. Hinman. You all have a copy in front of you of that letter. Mr. Hinman would like to allow him to serve on that committee, and I would like to make a motion to add Art Diver as a member of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, anyone? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. And then the final item on the agenda,
Consider motion to go into executive session to discuss personal matters pursuant to 229, the Delaware Code 10,004, subsection B, subsection I, and 6, relating to personnel matters.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to that portion of the FOIA.
Do I have a second?
Have a
Second.
Mayor, may I?
Yeah.
Mrs. Carter, it's 100 block of Hollywood. Some citizen has put up 2 15-mile-per-hour speed limit signs, and they'll be down before the close of business today, so.
And Mr. Gravier, I think that's a shame. Please consider 20 on Collins.
We can't.
Put those signs up on either side of the bump and say, bump 15 miles per hour, because it's not a speed limit, it's a warning, and it's a visual that people will slow down. Hopefully, it'll help.
Mrs. Carter, I think you're on the list that's received pages and pages of recorded speed data, which indicates that a car traveling fast on Collins is going 17 or 18 miles per hour. And very few cars, maybe 1 out of 500, 600, 1,000, travels over that number. So I know that, it's provocative to say speed on Collins, but factually, that's not the case, so.
It looks faster than they are.
I understand and thank you, but the data that you gave me mostly was after the speed bumps were in place, the new ones that are very high, which is great, but the sound of the big trucks and the ones with trailers and all their equipment in it going 25 miles an hour over those bumps is tremendous, and also they can't stop in time if they're going 25. We're just pleading again, if possible, it's just a reminder to go more slowly, to have 15 and bump next to the bumps. It's just one of those visuals. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for coming or for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day and a great weekend with no rain.
Enjoy the beach.
Enjoy the beach.
The big beach.
That's a shirt from the big beach. This is a new shirt for you. It's your name. It says,
Are we
"Welcome
going
here."
upstairs?
I love it, thank you.